Hey man, what's up, y'all? I'm gonna talk about the Dwane Casey firing, my thoughts on it, my take on it. Um, you never want anyone to lose a job. Obviously that this man has a family. This is his career. This is his life. This is how he cultivate his living and his earnings. But in life is always a process, and when you get to a certain level, you have to either get over the hump or you slide back down the sliding board. And I would like to make a boxing analysis that will help people understand that when you a fighter coming up, you are known as a prospect. Then you win a couple fights, you get your name out there, then you become a contender. You win a couple fights there, then you fight someone that can get you a fight with the champion, or you put yourself in a position to fight the champion. Now, when you fight the champion, if you beat the champion, obviously become the champion and you get over the hump. But sometimes fighters, they have that championship fight or that moment of, to be great, and they don't get over the hump. Sometimes, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 times they get shots at getting over the hump, but they don't quite get there. And then, the promoter, he has to go in a different direction because he see that you can't get over the hump. It's much like the NBA with Dwane Casey. I believe he was with the Toronto Raptors for 6 years. They were prospects at first with him, with DeRozan and Kyle Lowry as his 2 top stars. Then they became contenders, and then over the last 3 years, they were really high contenders. Now they couldn't get over the hump of LeBron James over the last 3 seasons. Last year they got swept in the conference finals, and this year they got swept before the conference finals. And yes, it's much like Michael Jordan in his era and other great players like Magic Johnson in his era and Kobe and Shaq in their era. It was teams like Sacramento in the Kobe and Shaq era and Portland that could not get over the hump. In the Michael Jordan era, teams like Indiana couldn't get over the hump. Miami Heat could not get over the hump, and New York Knicks could not get over the hump until Michael Jordan retired that year, and New York Knicks faced the Houston Rockets. But yes, this is the LeBron James era, but this year was different. This year, LeBron James had a lot of turmoil going on with the team. Kyrie left. Kevin Love was not playing up to snub. Guys like J.R. Smith were playing so-so. Tristan Thompson had his issues off the field that seeped on the field, and he was unable to play well enough. It didn't help that Indiana took LeBron James to a hard 7-game series, and could have won that series. So the pressure was on Toronto. Toronto had to come and win this series no matter what. They had to win it, whether they won it in 7, 4, or 6, or 5. They had to win a series. They ended up getting swept, and yes, LeBron James hit a game winner on them, and you can kind of chalk that up to being a great player making a great play, but he did not have a lot of help around him. He had guys on his team like a Rodney Hood who refused to go in the game, and he had guys on his team that underachieved. He got Jordan Clarkson, never been in the playoffs. Larry Nance Jr., never been in the playoffs. And this was the year that he was vulnerable, and y'all got swept. So therefore, you cannot get rid of all the players. So you get rid of the easier thing to do is to get rid of the coach. I understand, but maybe they need a new voice. Maybe they need to go in another direction as far as strategy. Dwane Casey, they've been hearing Dwane Casey's voice for the past 6-7 years, and it was reported that no coach gets fired without the best players on the team being notified first or being consulted. And yes, I believe that DeMar DeRozan and Lowry maybe signed off on this. It's very, very possible that they signed off on it. DeMar DeRozan didn't sound like he was too upset, but you could see the frustration in Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry said it was a wasted season, that them not beating LeBron James this time was a wasted season. I agree with him, because what y'all did in the regular season was great, but we've seen it before. We've seen it the last 3 years that y'all have a good regular season, much like the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are the same. position with James Harden. Yes, they have James Harden have had a couple 3 years in a row where he had really really good seasons. Now we got to see if he can get over the hump. But we clearly see in the team scene, in the organization scene, that y'all cannot get over the hump, and Dwane Casey is at the helm. He's the leader. He's ultimately the leader. The coach is the leader. He's a driving force for the strategy. He's a driving force for the team's mindset, and they feel that he cannot get them over the hump. So yes, I know Steven Jackson and Stephen A. Smith were upset about the firing, but I know Steven Jackson can be an emotional guy. Steven Jackson was a great player. Steven Jackson was a dog on the court. I respect Steven Jackson's opinion, but I think he's coming from an emotional standpoint of why did he get fired. But he got fired because he cannot get over the hump. Steven Jackson and Stephen A. Smith, he could not get over the hump. So you have to do something. You cannot trade DeRozan and Lowry. What are you going to get for them? You're not going to get anything for them of value. If you trade DeRozan, you're not going to get a player back better than DeRozan. You're going to get something less of DeRozan. If you trade Kyle Lowry, you're going to get something back less of Kyle Lowry. And both of those guys have high contracts, along with Serge Ibaka, who has another high contract, who have underachieved since he left Oklahoma City Thunder, which I thought he was underachieving a year before he left there. So you have to get rid of the coach and go in another direction. Hopefully, a new voice may do something different. A new strategy may bring something different. But like I said, he got fired because he could not get over the hump, and he's the leader of the team. So that's my take on it. Let me know what y'all think. I'm out, man. Subscribe to the channel.